Everyone, it's Raghu. I'm back with Mindrolling, and I'm with now who has become an older friend,
Yeah.
Krishna East Forest. Welcome.
Come on. Well, how long has it been? I guess it was 2017 or 18 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, no, it's going on 10 years. That's the truth. Amazing truth. I think you all know East Forest out there and that wonderful music that he creates and ceremonies but if you don't, then one day I get a call from who was known as at that time and still as Trevor, and hey, I got this idea. He says, I want to put some music behind, some of Ram Dass talks, blah, blah. And I go, all right, well, I get a lot of, I didn't say this, but I get a lot of requests all the time.
You did say that. You did. You said you get a lot. Yeah. But you hadn't done a lot of it, so I'm not sure why. What was your thought process?
Well, no, that's not true. We had done Beretta, right? Justin Beretta before you.
Was it before?
Yeah. Beretta was before.
And there was the Crease, Ram Dass and Crease, like 10 years, 15 years
way
before.
Back. Yeah, that was before there was a foundation and before, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, it was during, Ram Dass had already had the stroke, Yeah, never found him, by the way. He did an interesting thing, and I could not find him.
Wait, what do you mean? He just did it, and then you tried to find him?
Later, years, to say, hey, we have a vehicle now. We can do something with this, and I had never found him. If anybody knows where Crease is, Kriece, a musician from Australia, I believe, let us know. Anyhow,
now, I listened to that a lot.
Really?
Actually. Yeah, that was actually sort of, I listened to that album many, many times, many years before we met, and that was sort of part of the inspiration. It's like, well, they did this, and I thought I could give a stab at that. Yeah.
Wow, that's something new info. That's so great.
Yeah,
Krishna.
Yeah.
So anyhow, but at the time, Krishna had an idea that what he wanted, I was suggesting, well, get some pre-stroke talks of Ram Dass, they're so entertaining and informative and all that. And he said, no, I want to go talk to him now, and I want to record it. I said, remember, I pushed back. I said, well, he's got aphasia, and I couldn't, as a producer, I was trying to imagine how that would work, and it didn't feel, but Krishna really had an idea of what he was. Can you describe, though, going over there, you're thinking about this project. Did you go over with Radha?
She came a little later, but I got there by myself first.
Yeah.
I mean, rightly so. You said that, look, if you do go, that he might not be able to do it. You never know. And I said, well, I'm willing to take that risk. And I think what I told you ultimately was that if I'm going to put his words to music, and it just felt like I needed to look him in the eye, soul to soul, just like that needed to happen, even if we didn't record or talk. I just felt like we need to look at each other and I don't know, some kind of energetic exchange.
Yeah.
And you said, yes, I agree. And so when I did go, I think I got there, they did the kirtans on Tuesdays, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
In Ram Dass's house, yeah.
Yeah. And so they invited me over to that, and I got there on a Monday, and I was supposed to record on like a Wednesday or a Thursday and Friday. And I just remember being very, very nervous walking because there were a lot of people, and I'd never been there.
Mm-hmm.
And Rita was sort of my connection because I had gone over to her house to look through the recordings, as you suggested. And so we got to know each other. And she's told me to sit down next to Ram Dass on the couch there, and Ram Dass was in his wheelchair. And I didn't say anything, but I was like, oh, okay, great. This is exciting. And then Dasi Ma, she jowed me immediately. She's like, you're crowding him. You got to get out of here. It's like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Ram Dass is CEO of the house.
Yeah,
so
I was so mortified. I was like, I was told to sit here. So I went and sat in the corner in the back. And I did we did all the things that Shalisa, and it was great, but I was pretty scared. And then I came back the next day to record, and I I knew that Dasima was kind of the last doorway, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's to go up to the study. But she was so sweet when I came back. And I remember going in there and setting up, and two things come to mind. One, as I was setting up, Ramdas did turn to me and said, "Have you done this before?" I was like, "I might look young." I said, "Oh, yeah. I've done this. I know and he's like, "Okay." And then, I think he was finishing lunch, if I remember correctly, and I get the mic set up and everything. And it was a hot afternoon, and they shut the door. And I do remember feeling a profound sense of it feeling like the spiritual White House or something. And someone was going to come in and be like, "Wait a minute, what are you doing in here?"
Wow.
But nobody did. And they gave us a beautiful amount of space. We probably were in there for an hour and a half or so. And the first question I asked was about nature. I remember looking at the ocean out that window, and it was hot, and there was the breeze. And something about like, how do we use nature? How do we interface with it? Or some long-winded question. And he just paused for a long time. And my one internal rule was, don't interrupt him. Like, give him space and time. You might have told me that. And so I just sat and waited, and it was many, many minutes where he's just basically meditating. And then what he said was exactly what you hear in that song. That long list of trees, water, but with like a minute in between each word. So I didn't know, is he just stumbling or where's he going with this?
Right.
But when he did the whole thing, as you hear in the song, 15, 20 minutes, I was like, holy shit, this is good. Like I remember he looked at me at the end and just gave me like a nod, like, how's that? And I was like, that is, wow, really good, man. Really good.
Yeah, good on for your vision there too, because it was perfect for doing what you wanted to do. That spaciousness, the meditative quality, and that he shared. I mean, that was just perfect. But by the way, we're doing something I never do, and I'm going to change. We're going to change this right now. Talking to a musical artist about music. So what we're going to do is, and I'll just tell you, we're going to do it. But we're going to insert one of the songs from the album East Forest and Ram Dass. Can you pick one? And I'm good, and they'll play it.
We should probably do one that doesn't get, as many, like you see the ones that people post on socials and stuff. And there's probably several of those. There's like You're a Guru is an interesting track. By the way, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was remembering on my off time there doing a lot of field recording, like all over the island, and all the field recordings in the album are from around northern Maui.
Really?
So if you hear wind or rain or birds, or it's all from his place,
his
basically.
environment. Yeah. Oh, that's so great. You still thinking?
I think You're a Guru would be.
You're a Guru. Okay.
Yeah.
Producers out there in producer land, please let's play You Are a Guru.
Find it and play it.
Find it and play it.
Mm-hmm.
You're a guru. 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 Even if you have never met your guru is there. Everybody as a guru. You're a guru. You're a guru. If you don't think you have a guru, I'll lend you mine. Before I realized that he was here, I felt I was the captain of my ship. You're a guru. You're a guru. Now, he's the captain of my ship. I surrender. I turn to him, and he decides. And God decides. You're a guru. 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 He has his lila, or dance, or game, and I'm part of that dance. You're a guru. You're a guru. You're a guru. You're a guru.
Well, I'm glad that we could share with people this album. I mean, how old is it now?
It came out in 2019.
Right, just
Yeah.
before Ram Dass left, I believe.
Yes, actually.
Right,
I
when
mean,
we think back on it now.
very much so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just far exceeded my expectations, really. I mean, when I did speak to Krishna about doing this project, and, you know, I even shared my hesitations in terms of we had gotten a lot of submissions of people wanting to do just that. We still do to this day, even way more because of you and others who've been working with it. But I said, please send me something. Give me an idea. And you did that. And then I got it. Okay, this is substantially real here. And I'm going to trust him. And I did. And what came out of it is, it's just, well, boy, it's gotten a huge audience. Let's start there, right?
I mean, the cool thing, man, is that we did record Ram Dass, and he got to answer questions that were relevant to the times now, which are very relevant today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're these micro teachings that are so perfect for this kind of short form content world we live in, where it's a doorway in for people who, especially those who don't know anything about it or Ram Dass. And so we were talking, I shared with you the Music for Mushrooms documentary I made. And there's a scene in it with the New Earth Foundation, these kids from LA. And a lot of them haven't even been out of LA. And we brought them up to Utah for like a nature retreat. And Harry Grammer asked me to play for them. So we did like a sort of performance ceremony where they can lie down I played for an album or an hour. I think like the second or first song I played was Dark Thoughts. And these youth definitely don't know Ram Dass. I didn't really give it any setup. I just played it.
Really?
And yeah, and a few of them burst into tears, like hardcore, like kids, like tattooed up, some of them gang members, just completely started bawling.
Wow, you never told me this. It's so far up. Wow.
Yeah, it was actually so powerful. We didn't actually get to capture all of it, but you did get to see some of that in the film and some of the kids talking about their experience. But, they said things like, when that old dude started talking about those dark thoughts, like it hit them in a way that was really heartwarming because it showed me that, look, this isn't just for people who are in the tribe, so to speak. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, they're yogis. Of course they get it, right? It just blasts their heart open. It blasts open the hearts of these kids from different backgrounds even more.
Wow.
Just like that.
Amazing.
And that was something else, man. There's something about the combination of how music can unlock and makes the medicine so smooth, right? And the emotion is so amplified that it's just right there. It's a core human experience that they're reflecting back. That's not about, it's for all of us. And that was really special.
Oh, so great. So great. Well, Krishna Das says many a time that exactly that. These mantras, they get through to where they're supposed to go by virtue of riding on the music. The music makes the medicine groovy, actually.
Yeah, we underestimate like what music is because it's so ever present in our world more than it ever has been, that I think we take it for granted. But as a technology, or something that like feels like to me, sort of like a doorway to spirit. It's the language of the non-dual. It's because it's just feeling, it's emotion. And that is how we start to feel and understand these bigger things, bigger concepts. It's not words, it's not our mind. And I don't know why that is. We put these things together, rhythm and tone, harmony, and we start to, and we can just, and it's so beautiful that there's infinite songs to write. Like, we'll never stop writing songs, and there'll never be a time where like, well, we wrote them all.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the sitting around the fire forever thing. It's like, that's what we do for eternity.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful, like for beauty's sake alone.
Reminds me of, I went onto a panel nearby me in Santa Barbara, California. And it was around, the theme was music and psychedelics. And so, each person talked about their particular experience with music and psychedelics. But my first, and you could call it a psychedelic experience, was without psychedelics. I don't remember if I may have told you this.
Like
Christian.
Your first psychedelic experience, in a sense, was without psychedelics, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Fascinating. Tell me more.
So, I don't think it was more than 17 or something like that, 17, 18 maybe. And I went to a club in Montreal, where I'm from, and performing there was John Coltrane. I was into jazz.
You saw Coltrane in Montreal?
Yeah.
Wow.
With the whole Jimmy Garrison and McCoy Tyner and Elvin Jones. I still have in my head Elvin Jones over his drums kit, and he was smoking a cigarette, but he was playing drums, so he put the cigarette. So the whole song, one of them, it burnt the ash. And it all stayed there until he took
badass.
it out.
I'm sorry. That's the heyday of Coltrane too. Like, he was going into his like some peak time.
Mid-late 60s. Yeah. Anyhow, he started to play on soprano my favorite things. You know that song,
Da,
right?
da, da,
Yeah.
ba, da, da, dee, dee, the
So-
waltz.
I actually had an altered consciousness experience. It's funny because, I mean, this gets a little bit complex, but not too much later, when I went to India and I started learning meditation and so on, it was actually with Ram Dass up in the Himalayas with Krishnadas Ramesh and a couple other people. My first experience in that room, it was a cowshed that apparently one of the great siddhas of that time, named Harikan Baba, who is in this movie of KKs, which, by the way, I've got to turn you on to that. I think
Yes.
Yeah, I really got. Anyhow, all these siddhas or saints are in there. So I had an experience where my body became like thousands of pounds. I couldn't move, and whatever that is, spirit, whatever it is, it definitely left. And after I thought about it, that's what happened when I saw Coltrane. I couldn't move, and I just went into another realm of consciousness through this thing. I mean, that was a big deal. Oh, you can imagine for me in that moment that.
What kind of karma do you have that you got to sit with Maharaji and see Coltrane live in the mid-late 60s?
Yeah. And Hendrix, are going to put him in there too.
Wow.
So anyhow, I told this, that's not the point here. The point is I told this story and I said, this for me was my first psychedelic experience, meaning, of course, without psychedelic drugs, but going into the kind of spaces when later I did do psychedelic drugs, the kind of spaces that we do go through using those entheogens. And I realized this was very fortunate, that there's not a difference. You go into that space on a psychedelic, potentially, and you can go into it through many other means. It is not just obviously that short duration, relatively, of psychedelic drugs, and particularly I'm speaking was acid that I'm speaking to, but psilocybin and whatever. These open up realms in a very, very short time frame, which has its ups and downs in that case. And when you do come down, it's as Ram Dass used to say, I don't want to keep coming down. Keep coming down. He did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trips. And that's why he went to India. There must be another way. And he did. And of course, he met Neem Karoli Baba and found that other way, a map. So that was interesting for the people in this particular little panel. Yeah, there was 100 people or whatever. They were expecting something completely other in relation to somebody telling a story of their first experience or their experience with music and psychedelics. And
Well, Coltrane, right? He got further and further into the spirituality being the point of his music.
Yeah.
And so, things like A Love Supreme, which I think came just right after that, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was like, to him, it's kind of, I guess it makes sense, but it's also so perfect that that's the music, someone who put that sort of intention into it, that how can we get lost in improvisation, in the group format, using music in a focused way to unlock our connection to divinity. And it worked for you, right, as a participant with your attention in that room. And that is just so amazing to hear, because it's showing you the potentiality of music that's right in front of us all the time. It's just like, well, how do you want to use it? And you get to choose. The artists get to choose, but the listener gets to choose. And it's really can be that simple, But, if you want to open the doorway, you have to create that invitation for it to open, to walk through.
Yeah.
But it's right there. So, wow, man, it's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And really, Coltrane, you said it appropriately. What he was aiming for was way, way deeper than any kind of trying to be an entertainer, a jazz musician, or anything like that. He was really aiming deeply. He went through a lot of suffering too, with addiction and so on. But he was aiming so far inside himself and sharing that. He really was, in India they call him an upaguru, someone who really can show the way. It's not the Satguru, whatever. And these are all Hindu terms, but he certainly did point the way. And listen, you just did a big investigation around what we're talking about through your movie, Music for Mushrooms. So maybe just talk about what you wanted to represent in there regarding just what we're talking about, music and psychedelics.
Well, I want to also give, someone who took it to another level was his wife, Alice.
That's right.
And she was a big influence. And this is answering your question, but, Alice Coltrane, when John dies, from what I know of her, it hit her really hard. And she went through a path of trying to find her spiritual center and freedom that went even further with renunciations and really intense things that she did. And it's like, oh, your microphone busted. You ripped it off. And her music, also, was something that's incredibly intentional. And,
absolutely. So, talk about Music for Mushrooms and how that came together and your intentions there.
Well, Music for Mushrooms is a narrative feature documentary that we put out last year. And if anyone wants to see it, it's at musicformushrooms.com. But I wanted, it's in exploring this idea that we're talking about how can we use music and potentially mushrooms or other plant medicines. And what is there some kind of recipe or something, or how relevant is it to this modern conundrum, to put it lightly, that we find ourselves
Very
in?
lightly, yeah.
And so it's kind of thinking hey, we need all the tools we can get. It's all hands on deck. And everybody's struggling in different ways, but we all share sort of this needle we're trying to thread as a people. And I'm really interested in how we can use music as a tool, or how we can use that with psychedelics or not. And personally, man, I feel that the psychedelic experience without music, they go together like a hand in glove, a lock and key. And it's been that way across cultures forever. They all use song and music as a central guide inside the ceremonial experience. And there's got to be a reason for that. And then just my own anecdotal experience and explorations with facilitating for other people with creating music, I was just seeing over and over again how the music was not like this side thing that just worked well. It's sort of, I don't know, it's almost like it became the medicine, or it works as a synthesis between the medicine and the music. Or ayahuasqueros have said to me, I don't know if this is true across all of them, but in Peru, that the icaros, the songs they're using to guide the ceremony, without them, it wouldn't work. Just taking the ayahuasca wouldn't function, because the songs are calling forth the spirit of the ayahuasca. And they sort of do this for hours and hours throughout the whole ceremony. And that mechanism of the songs has stayed intact with an ayahuasca ceremony as it's propagated into the West, largely. That's very interesting. Why is it that, the ceremony and the tools they created have stuck with it? Lakota Sweat Lodge, same thing. You don't change it. They do it the same way for a reason. And it's the songs and the way they do it, the ceremony. Psilocybin, a little different, because we lost some of that. And so we don't have as many codified traditions like that. that have made it into the West indigenously. So it's a bit more of an open landscape, but certainly it existed. So I just wanted to talk to artists and musicians and scientists and indigenous elders and Ram Dass and sort of pull all this stuff together to shine a light on some of these people and places that I've been going across for years. Because I just think it's relevant to today. And we're in a spiritual emergency, in my opinion. Like at its core, the derivation of what's happening is how I see it. And so therefore, we need, introspection, in essence, is the calling of the time. And so for all the people who are curious or thinking about this or facing challenges that are pushing them into change and pushing them inside, it's just giving them one more possibility of tools they could use that might be helpful to them to say change, it's from the inside out. So whatever's happening right now in the world, it needs to happen and only can happen from people and souls going within, making choices, doing their work, and we hopefully love one another better. But that's the only way. It's not going to be a top-down solution.
No.
And so I wanted to make a movie that was largely about feeling, and music's a great way to do that. So yeah, you're learning things in the movie, but I wasn't trying to make a film that like you learn everything about mushrooms or something, or everything about music. It's like, no, you're going to feel things. And through that, there's a kind of understanding that I can trust within the individual.
Yeah. To me, it's so potent. I mean, it saved my life, music, before Coltrane. And for that, it was Dylan. I mean, we have to, he was just expressing this angst, and it made you feel better because it gave you community in a funny kind of way. But did you ever sit and watch a movie and it's got a plot and you're absorbed in the storyline and everything, and then suddenly, there's a soundtrack, but then suddenly they maybe put something in a song. It could be an evocative soundtrack, but more I'm thinking, I know what happens to me. When that song comes on, I'm thinking of Van Morrison right now because of how extraordinarily evocative he is. And some of his early music was just amazing. Suddenly, so that comes on. I'm not watching. I'm not hearing what they're saying even. I've gone into I've been into a vortex that this song represents, that I get pulled into, so much so that the rest of it disappears. Do you ever have that experience?
I mean, it's very evocative, but I also could say like there's times when a song unlocks the film in that moment.
Yeah.
I don't know why, when you're talking about this, I'm thinking about the movie Arrival. Do you remember that movie where the alien pods come down and it's a linguist is trying to it's an amazing film, amazing music by Johan Johansson. I think I'm saying that right, did the score. But there's a moment, without spoiling anything at the end, where the music, it's very psychedelic. And I remember just feeling psychedelic feelings in that moment. I was like, whoa, what's happening to me? And absolutely, it was how the music aligned with that moment in the narrative. It happens all the time. It's really hard to make a film without music.
No,
or that works emotionally. It's really difficult. And, the sound is the thing that makes it three-dimensional, like literally, and takes it off the screen and touches your body. And so, big potential.
And big potential, speaking to that, exactly. So Krishna and I, a month ago, we were together in Denver at the MAPS convention, which is the organization that's trying to get MDMA in particular legalized for therapy, and following that, psilocybin, PTSD, addiction, death and dying. There's many ways in which these entheogens can really help people. So they're doing the best that they can. They have not yet gotten that through. So we went, and we, meaning Love Serve Remember Foundation, to represent Ram Dass's perspective on psychedelic insight and spirituality. And I have to say that you know this well. Because, we're about to do something. We'll have to talk about that in a minute.
Yes,
too.
yeah.
We're about to do something together. But the integration, following the ineffable experience, that which you cannot describe, the integration into a day-to-day life has to be very present. This is what Ram Dass really was very, very strong on. It's not like, he would do, even after his stroke, more rarely, but he would still check in, using a psychedelic. But he would tell people the idea that to continue to have an quote unquote experience, we're going to do a ceremony every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Is potentially counterproductive in the way that, okay, how is this being integrated into a daily life? And to me, music, start right there, using music to get where you needed to go, wherever the psychedelic might take you, and then to come into it on a day-to-day basis. And for me, in particular, practice-wise, it's through chanting. It's through, we do the Hanuman Chalisa. That's been a big thing that Krishnadas and others he brought back. And it is a primary practice of integration, I believe, integrating psychedelic experience and translating that into one's life. And then you have to talk about outcomes. So what are we looking for? A little bit more kindness, a little bit more compassion.
Was Ram Dass talking to his non-embodied friend Emmanuel when he got that line about, why don't you try taking the curriculum, be in life?
Yep.
Yeah. I love that. I've said that to people a lot, or I've recounted that story because, life is the point. If the soul
life is the point, is be a T-shirt. Take that.
Yeah, it's true. And so, if you came here as a soul to learn and do things, to basically have experiences, then those things are the point. And when we have these ecstatic, altered states, they're really wonderful for shaking us out of delusion and the dreams and to see things whoa, I was so lost in an identification or some story or whatever.
Yeah.
And you say what's really important to you. And then you come here and you do this. You wash the dishes. You your relationships, often the things that feel the most mundane are the crucible of the soul work. The things
good.
closest to you right here. And that is the stuff. That's why it's so close. And we often, in some spiritual circles, throw that away. We're like, no, but I'm reaching for the big goals. I'm going for the big prize. And it's well, the way through is through our life. And I think what you're saying is important. That in many ways, integration on the most fundamental level is living your life. Living all of it. And so the things that are sticky and the friction, well, that's definitely the point. If we didn't have friction or challenges to press up against, there'd be nothing to do. That's how you learn. So it's not something necessarily to be avoided, but to lean into with tenderness. But leaning in is the spiritual work, I would assume.
Yeah. Well, Ram Dass used to say, suffering brings me closer to God. I'm not asking for it in any way.
Yeah.
I am not.
But it does.
But it's just a natural progression of who we are, we come into this incarnation completely at one
Right.
And then suddenly some idiot gives us a name.
Yeah, right.
And
You
then-
are other. Yes.
And then you're other. And then you're
Yeah.
separate. And then you got to do a whole lifetime of getting back
Some
there.
idiot.
Who invented
Some
it?
idiot called mom. Yeah.
Sorry. I would never
Thanks,
say.
Mom.
Let's talk dad. Dad, mom can do no wrong. Dad, I don't know. But yeah, no, that's separation. This is why psychedelics certainly are helpful in bridging that separation and creating an environment where at least you know that there is interconnectedness. We are connected. This is not, we are not living in this illusion of separateness. This is a big deal.
I want to say something about moms because it's kind of a fun, quick story. Radha, my partner, is a ketamine therapist, one of her jobs. And a couple years ago, she was doing a group journey that I participated in. And I was sort of new to ketamine. And I'll be honest, I was a bit cavalier because I thought ketamine, schmetamine, whatever. I've been around the block, And that's a bad idea when you step into any semi or psychedelic state. And they ran out of the lozenge, so I had to do a injection, and it's called intramuscular, IM, a shot, which I hadn't done. And I thought, no big deal. Didn't know. I think he warned me, like, well, it comes on a lot faster. I said, okay. And they calculate out what to give me, and they just kind of real casually put it in my arm and walk out of the room, and we began this little journey, which was really, it was 6 of us and in the dark, and we're listening to music. And nothing's going on for a few minutes, and I thought, this isn't here, whatever, it'll be subtle. And all of a sudden, I start feeling that rush, and it's coming fast. And I thought, whoa, okay, no big, all right, it's coming on quickly. And then it just kept going, and it started getting bigger and bigger and reaching levels of like, now we're in like a full psilocybin type space. Oh my God, this is Tuesday. I didn't expect to be here. And then, it's pressing forward. Yeah, it's just now it's going into another space. It kept crossing boundaries that were far beyond my expectation, but beyond that, it started going to places I'd never even been before in my consciousness. Very scary because I assumed they gave me 1,000 times too much. Like obviously they have made a mistake, and I thought I don't think I'll die because they used ketamine to put kids to sleep, like for surgeries. I said, maybe I'll just lose but I was very freaked out. And I was making sort of deals in a way with God or the universe to be like, if I can get through this kind of stuff.
I'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember feeling like there's a kind of, there's these thresholds in a sense in a psychedelic experience that you may resist and you try not to, but you're like, oh, do I cross this? It might feel like dying in a way. And I thought, if I do that, I don't know what's on the other side. Like maybe I will actually die, or I don't know. And I said, kind of those deals of like, please, God, if I go over this edge, is it total chaos and oblivion, or is it God? And I remember going over and reaching out my hand. I had a blindfold on. And I'm going to cry because I remember this so deeply. Like when I reached out my hand, I felt Radha's hand grab my hand at that moment when I exploded across the boundary. And it was the perfect representation of like,
Mother.
You were never can be outside the mother.
No.
Like God. Like, and I suddenly realized the most obvious thing in the world. Like we all came from a mom. All of us. Out of a circle, literally. And that's just the truth. As above, so below. All of creation came out of a mom creation. And I was like, you will never you can't not have the motherly love, and nor could you ever fall outside of it. That is what creation is. And it was like, that's grace. Like, oh my God. Like, that's just enough so that when we fall, we always are inside that. And that was a song where I started to record notes to myself that night. And I put that into this song called Can't Fall Out of Love. Like literally, you can't fall out of love because it's this womb we're in. And thank God,
Wow. I just have that image of her hand reaching yours in that moment.
Yes, and it's the way it manifests in our life is the people who love us. Like, and that was like my wife. You know, it's like how beautiful and perfect and simple.
Yeah. Before we got on, I was telling you about how Maharaji used to jive Mother Parvati and mother of my children. And by saying, are you friends? Are you friends? Every day that we go to Kenchi to see him. But she was like outrageous in her transparency of love. She did things like, one time she went and she kissed him on his bald head. I tell you, the Indians went out of their minds. You cannot do this to a guru. You cannot. And he looked and beamed up at her like, yeah. And then a couple of days later, he went, yeah. So she was very free. I, on the other hand, thought I was completely the worst person who ever lived. How did I even get here
How did you get there? I want to know that when you're done with this story.
Ram Dass, but yeah.
He just invited you.
No. We had to shake him up. He wasn't supposed to tell anything about where Neem Karoli Baba, or where. He was told not to say anything. So it took a few, I'm what Krishna said in this movie we just did, KK thing. He said, okay, I'm gone. So I'll find him. And Ram Dass said, hang on a sec. Okay. And he gave, here, right to KK Shah, who is this movie, Bridge of Grace, is all about. So Parvati, she was very free, and I was like, not that I didn't run up every time he came out. We all ran and get as close as possible to plug into this electricity. You know what she would do? She would get there first, and she'd keep a place for me so I could sit in the front. She put herself, nobody else was doing that. Everybody was, it was just me. I need
she liked you. Yeah.
She actually created a space for me. I'll never forget this. I hope she doesn't listen to this because she'll think I'm nuts.
Why? It's so sweet. Come on, you're giving her praise. It's beautiful.
Mother, though. Yeah.
It is what it is. It is like, if we didn't have that, I know it sounds silly, like we wouldn't have anything, but it's also like, that's God.
Yeah. Look at the Indian, I don't know, we've never talked about this, but Indian music and what it's based on, ragas and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the evocative nature of it's from mother. So it's nature, it's mother, there's a raga for sunrise, there's a raga for sunset. It's, and there's one in particular that you must, if you get a chance. Do you know who you do? I know you do. Ali Akbar Khan, right? The great Sarod master who died maybe 10, 12 years ago. Find a record, Krishna, with Bhairavi, Bhairavi, Bhairavi is the name of the raga. And talk about mother through music enveloping you and taking you completely to another place. They say that the sarod is the closest instrument sound to the voice of anything.
No kidding.
Yeah, because of the way it can imbue with so many different shades and colorings and emotional output. Yeah.
I just played a show. Well, I played with Trevor Hall. It was his show.
Yeah.
And he had a band, and one of them, I believe, was playing the sarod.
Yes,
and I was
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I actually was like, what is that called? I remember looking it up because that's cool. Like, deep instrument.
Yeah, very, very deep. Yeah, everybody. We'll put, by the way, in our show notes, the links to Music for Mushrooms, the links to Krishna's music. And
Wait, side note, man. When I was with Ram Dass that day, or the second last time, and someone had told me you could ask for a name. That's how I got the name Krishna. And I asked him for a name, and blathering, if you don't have to, but if you want, it's cool. But I don't know, maybe if you want, I heard you could. And he's just nodding. And when he finally gave me the name, I was so nervous because I thought because of the aphasia, there might be more than just Krishna, like a Das or something.
Yeah.
And so I would ask him, is it just Krishna? He's like, just Krishna. And he'd just say, Krishna. And I still, 3 times, I was like, I know, but like, is there more? He's like, more. Krishna. And Radha kept saying, that's the name. Like, and Ron just laughed. And but I kept being so worried that I would walk out and later on saying, no. There's more to it. You have to say the other part.
Oh, here's a great story for you. So one of our close people, Mirabai Bush, she's part of the foundation, and she authored that wonderful book, Walking Each Other Home. There's another link you guys to put up there for that book. So we were with Maharaji, and he named her Mirabai. Her name was Linda. He named her Mirabai. And she was, her partner was with her at the time, John, and he named her Mirabai. Now, Mirabai, the old Mirabai, the saint from the 16th century, was a great devotee of Krishna.
Okay.
And you must look her up too, because there's incredible poems and bhajans, meaning, her poems put to music and sung. You would love it, Krishna. This is a big assignment for the producers here to find all these links.
Yeah, there's a lot of notes. This is
absolutely worthwhile.
The references. Yeah, I love it.
So anyhow, in her life, the real life of Mirabai, her husband became very jealous of her devotion to Krishna. So he poisoned her.
Logical step. Yeah. Jeez, right. What an asshole.
He poisoned her, but because of the power of her devotion, the poison turned to nectar. And then he became a devotee. So anyhow, there's Mirabai Bush sitting there. He gets this incredible name, and her husband, he gets up and he runs out of the ashram. Maharaji goes, what's wrong with him? He told Krishna Das, you go find out. So he did, and he came back and he said, well, he's very upset that he's the husband who poisoned Mirabai. And you know what Maharaji said? Why does he think like that? It was one of the great, teachings without being a teaching. What do? We go to the worst element inside ourselves. I was doing it in India, having, oh my God, how could I have these, dark thoughts from the song, and he was just, let's go to the worst place. And to find the deep-seated goodness that we really are. What's so difficult about that?
It's
part of our journey.
Did you feel like he was sort of implying like you are choosing where to put your focus? Like, in essence, like it's a show. So what do you want to shine a light on?
You know what? Why can't you identify with Krishna? That's who her...
Just drop it. Just like, yeah.
You identify with Krishna, not with the husband who is a jealous ass. And obviously, went out of his way to get rid of this, his wife, because he was so jealous. So, why do you think like that? And, how much of the time we do that? We go to the dark place. We just go to the dark place.
Well, and it's like we're animals, right? And it's not hard to prod us, and certain things happen that are relatively predictable. And you look at social media, which this entire business model is based off of essentially fear. And so you're like, I need to see more. I need to protect myself in a way or find my tribe. But then there's just more and more and more and more and more. And why do we go to that place? We have to recognize that it's like sugar in an ant or something, or like you are drawn to that. You have to, it's not like there are natural tendencies that are very easy to push you in that direction. So I guess that's what practice would be for, in a sense. It's like to remind you over and over and over again and cultivate, the alternative, essentially, of what is, the Krishna consciousness, what is.
Yeah. Just one last thing before we go. One of the other things that at MAPS that we were really representing, I think, and it's Ram Dass saw this as one of the most powerful catalysts for shifting from me land, self-conscious stuff, to a deeper awareness. That's got to be what purpose integration from a psychedelic experience, a meditative experience, a chant, a music experience, whatever. That's got to be what we're looking to. I mean, in my mind, I think he is so right on, and it's compassionate interconnectedness. And that allows you to get out of that self-referential thing that we do and by the way, the worst part of that self-referential thing is Mirabai Bush's husband thinking he was the murderer rather than the God. That's more of that, depending on our neurotic tendencies. But don't you think, that music essentially is so much that compassion that just burdens within us, to the point where we are not feeling separate. And of course, psychedelics are, they're wonderful ways. They're not for everybody, and they need to be, respect needs to be taken around them. Ram Dass's whole thing with Leary or around set and setting needs to be activated, in my mind. But compassionate interconnectedness, huh?
Totally. It's like if loving awareness is our natural state, then the name of the game is what are the ways we can remind ourselves for when we forget. But recognizing that it's okay to forget, forgetting is like the engine so that we can remember. It's like a fuel for the cycle so that we have something to do. So I call it like a cosmic game of peekaboo, in a way. Like we just forget that we're God, and then we remember. And there's a joy in that, just like with a baby when you do it. Like you see the joy on the baby's face. We're the little baby, and the whole cosmic game perhaps is just so we can have the feeling of like expanded love when we remember. And music, no doubt. I was just down in southern Utah working on my land down there, and when I would get into a funk or something, I kept reminding myself, it's like, play music. Whether I'm actually playing it or putting on a record, like it would instantly shift my consciousness. It's just like, just changes the frequency of the room you're in, and you get to choose it. You pick the song. It's amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. From the beginning to this moment in my life, that has been the through line of being able to change my relative consciousness to more of the absolute. Right. It really has been. Yeah, we got it. By the way, we're going to have to. We're at the end of the thing, but we have to ask them to play "Loving Awareness."
I am loving awareness.
Yeah. I mean, really, this was Ram Dass's greatest teaching. I'm so glad that you put it together the way you did. This particular song is, of course, has Ram Dass in it, and it has Krishna Das in it singing as well. It's really cool.
I think it was the first time the two of them were on a track together, and there's a moment where they weave at the end where Krishna Das is singing Ram, 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 where Ram Dass talks about, I believe, dropping into the heart. It was like, that was just sort of happening. I didn't plan that.
No.
And I also want to give credit to Thatcher Schmid, who does the beautiful violin work on that whole song.
Oh, God, I didn't. Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah, I
that.
mean, that song is really just me and him. I played a shruti box as a drone, and then we improvised. I was on piano and Thatcher on violin, and I just layered his violin.
Wow.
And then I extended it because I wanted Christian Das on there, and Christian Das improvised, and I moved his stuff around, and then it all just kind of happened. And that song, probably, I love to think that it's always playing somewhere. I mean, I think literally, like at least one place in the planet, there's this ribbon or this thread of that song starting and stopping. Because you can look at Spotify in real time and see stats.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's so
and I'm
cool.
like, I think
didn't
it's
know.
always playing. Someone's always playing that track.
Oh, my God, that's so great. Hey, listen, I thank you for doing this in the first place. I thank you for pushing me the way that you did to do what you knew was the right thing to do. And look what we have, not to mention
Well, thank you.
friendship and everything else that's involved.
Yeah, we'll see each other in Boone soon.
Yeah.
at the
Oh,
retreat.
everybody. That's it. Oh, boy. Thank you. Yeah. Everybody, there's still a few spots left, but we're going to be in Boone on August 14th to the 18th. And Krishna is going to be there, East Forest, and he'll be doing his ceremonial music. And, of course, Krishna will be doing his thing at night. And so
Marissa Radu Wapner, my lady, she's going to be there too, doing a variety of things.
Yeah.
And
Robert Thurman's going to come, Acharya Shunya.
Fun.
Where do you meet her, actually? Krishna, you're going to like her.
Cool.
Acharya Shunya. She is a teacher from India who's in the non-dual bhakti realm, if that's even possible to say.
I think it is.
Her grandfather was a devotee of Neem Karoli Baba.
Oh, wow.
I never knew that. I did a podcast with her.
So what era was that, do you think?
Well, her grandfather,
So before you got there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Before
so when he was
there
younger.
must have been 40s,
Amazing.
50s, like that.
Amazing.
Something like that, yeah.
Huh.
So anyhow, she's fantastic too. And yes, you just go to ramdas.org and you'll navigate over to the event. And hey, thanks so much for joining me today, Krishna.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been great. And everyone will have show notes leading you to everything we've been speaking to. And you go to BeHereNowNetwork.com/mindrolling and go to the show notes. Just go to BeHereNowNetwork.com and there's all kinds of wonderful podcasters. And we have to put a link into Krishna's podcast as well, which we forgot to mention.
Well, check out Music for Mushrooms. I'm excited for people. Tell us what you think. Tell us what comes up for you.
Go. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll see you next week. Ram Ram.